Right, feedback for session number 2, idea plus expanding, picture number 1. So let's just start with the communication process here. For example, some techniques we can use when we talk about pictures is idea plus expanding, because that's the technique we need to use here. Okay, and for that, we need to use, for example, connectors and transitioning devices. Let's start here with some observations and recommendations. Usually, when you have a picture, you need to think about situations, right? Now, from the beginning, usually two situations here. We have facts and we have right now situations. Facts is because you are reporting what you see. For example, colors, gender, yes, quantity. And right now situations is because you see things are happening. Now, when we say situations, we're talking about tenses, or as we say in Spanish, tiempos verbales. For example, when I say facts, I'm talking about present simple. Remember, in present simple, we have 5 situations, and one of them is facts. And right now situations is present progressive. Okay, we're going to talk about this in a second. Let's continue here. Now, no matter, you can also use different situations, okay? But so far, let's say we have these two. So it's important that you have a connection with the topic. Yeah, so you need to have a connection here. That's when you start making ideas. Yeah. And this is what we call idea plus expanding. So what is idea plus expanding? When you have the first idea, that is a sentence, right? And for a sentence, you need to have subject, verb, and complement, all right? For example, you can say, the woman works in an office, okay? When you say that, you can expand. Expanding means that you're gonna start using connectors. Sorry. To use a connector. You can say, for example, the woman works in an office. For example, she is an assistant. Yeah. So when you use the connector, when you use the connector, you have to make sure that the next idea, the next thing you're going to say has a correct sentence. Because the problem, Jeanette, is that sometimes when we want to use a connector, we don't know how to put the next sentence into the communication process. And one common mistake is that when we need to say something with a subject, sometimes we forget. The woman works in an office, for example, works as an assistant. No, she works as an assistant. It's very important to maintain subject verb complement, okay? But I would say so far so good here. Now for this structure, yes, verb control, it's very important, right? So we're gonna be practicing this verb control in a very simple way. So my recommendation so far is that in your case, start thinking about your personal, professional, and academic life, okay? So for example, in this activity, when we have facts, if you have facts, you know that is present simple, but usually we use the verb to be. Yes, and you make sentences. For example, the woman is, and then you start blonde, or the woman is tall, or the woman is in a building, for example, okay? All right, so here we just have facts, or as we say in Spanish, hechos reales. The woman is blonde, tall, in a building. If you want to use, for example, right now situations, but remember we have not studied this yet, but just to show you. All right, so here, for example, we can say the woman, then we make the sentences, is working for a company. Or yes, is work. No, well, sorry. In this situation, we say something more literal. The woman is checking the locker. Yes. Or the woman is looking for something. All right. So, and this is what we call verb control. This is the verb. Now, in your situation, you need to start thinking about your own verbs. Your own verbs. Yes, on 3 levels. Number 1, personal life. Number 2, professional life. Number 3, academic life. Okay, that's going to be very fundamental. So far, we have practiced some verbs about your professional life. Now, for pronunciation, let's see. You have good pronunciation. Just make sure that when you select a word, let's call it word choice. Word choice is the word you want to use. Let's say that you know that you always use words like this. Colleagues. Yeah, so we need to practice. We need to practice until we get the pronunciation right. Okay, like colleagues, for example. We have to be careful when we want to say, for example, 1 woman, 2 women. So remember, we don't use the S here, okay? Another thing is for adjectives. Usually when you have an adjective, we put the adjective before the noun. So for example, a blue door. Because it was right, you say blonde woman, blue dress, but we say blue door as well, okay? So just to pay attention here. When we talk about age, you have to be careful, right? When we talk about age, we use the verb to be. Okay? For example, I am 37 years old. Or Maria is 24 years old. Okay, so we have to make sure it's the verb to be. Okay, because in Spanish we use the verb to have, which is very different. Now, so far, I think this is good. Just make sure that you practice, for example, this. Yes, fluency. For fluency, remember, when you are speaking, you need to use the sentence. But when you're saying the sentence, remember, you can apply pausing. That's a technique that is going to help you so far. All right, so you can practice more and more. Well, that's the end of feedback. Don't forget, practice makes perfect.